Back to another episode of the Deductionist podcast. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for stopping by. How's your day going? Hope you're well. Good afternoon to Bored, who's already here, as per usual. Not bored at all if he's here. A terrible joke, and I thank you for sticking with me. But I am a father, so it's kind of par for the course. I'll probably take these off actually, because you can just see nothing but the reflection of the lights in. I should probably turn them down as well. They're very bright. Oh, look at that. Hey, that was a quick change. Should have done this beforehand, but you know, we're here now. It's fine. So on to today's discussion. Let's just jump into it. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's just jump into it. So most people, when they come to this particular discipline for the first time, get a massive understanding for its breadth. In that, you know, it's not just reading a couple of body language books and going out and recognizing some things. It is a continual rabbit hole that you can tumble down for decades and still not come anywhere close to learning as much as you would need to be effective. You can specialize in certain areas for sure, right? But it just got me thinking, because I was running through some sessions today, and one of the lesson plans that we had was for geoprofiling. Now it's kind of become a social media trend of sorts, with people like Jose Monkey and Rainbolt and Yuval, a bunch of other ones as well, in terms of finding someone anywhere on Earth from a specific video, right? They've been doing it for years. It used to be a game that we'd play with the publishers of the monographs. Obviously, with it being a Sherlock Holmes publishing house, the publisher, when he goes on his travels, would send a photograph of anywhere in the world, and there was like a point system. You would get the least number of points if you found the country, and then it would kind of go up and up in points until you could find the exact room in the hotel you were staying at. And on the back of it, it's a wonderful exercise. It's a wonderful thing to go down. But when we were going through some of the practical parts of it today, and you look at uh, tracking the position of the sun, right? It is a distinctly dorky, wonderful discipline that involves either a lot of background knowledge about the axial tilts and the sun azimuths and or you can apply some kind of calculations that I tend to skip past because it's not really suited towards how I use it. That's normally suited towards people with tools at their disposal. I'm looking to just rely off this as much as possible. But during the discussion for that, we're going back and forth on other areas that we can research and look into refining the skill set. And we moved over towards the understanding of solar energy through solar panels, right? And they're they're a thing in my neighborhood. I'm sure they're a thing in neighborhoods around the world. And it kind of boiled down to when you were looking at calculating the sun's azimuth, that if there is an option to position the solar panels themselves, that can tell you about the direction of the sunlight in terms of north, south, east, and west, and northeast, and northwest, and everything else in between on the compass. That can tell you its position relative to the hemisphere that it's in. Awesome. And we kind of stumbled across that through this this deduction training, this distinctly applicable skill set. We stumbled across into understanding solar energy, and the whole analogy is that in order to understand what it is that you need to learn about, you just have to start exploring, right? When you're working within a set role, like paramedic, like lawyer, like most roles, they require you learn something from A to B, and then once you've learnt all of that, you're pretty good in the role. It's just about time served and the ins and outs of applying the sets, the specific set of information on a day-to-day basis. The role here is built on the understanding of humans, right? And that sits beneath everything and goes so much further than a few humble body language books. And so I thought we would have a kind of open discussion, as open as this particular forum will allow anyway, because you guys aren't here to talk back um, as much as you could if you were sat in front of me. So people will be sent that Benedict Cumberbatch speech that I love, which is clearly him doing some kind of reading from some of the play, but the whole thing ends with like him getting louder and more enraged about people worrying essentially, and it boiled down to stop thinking and just do. Right. So when you start um, within this skill set, you might come across body language, you might come across memory, you might come across the the notion of deduction and nothing more. Just from reading the canon or whatever it is, which is great. So then you look at body language, for example, and then you come across the Albert Morabian percentage breakdown, and then you come across emblems, and then you come across attention, and you come across freezes, and then that might lead you on to the behavioral responses of freeze, fight, and flight, and then that might lead you on to reading about behavioral responses to stress, which might lead you right. This is the notion of what I mean. We can be so concerned with what to get involved in because it might be wrong, right? But the benefit of this particular skill set is that the only way it can be wrong is if the information you serve up in response to, a case you're working on or a profile you're developing or whatever it is unrelated. Like if you're asked to find a person that's gone missing, and then you come back with stolen equipment from somebody else entirely unconnected, that's wrong, right? So when we're looking at training, it's about considering the journey and just walking it. Just go. Go see what you find. Go explore in those moments. You cannot, and I say that purely from a position of opinion, more so than anything else, you cannot be afraid to make a mistake because you will often. You will. And it's one of those things that, okay, let's say you read something and it turns out to be shit or of no service to you in your role. We've all done it. I've read more than my fair share of tosh that is completely disconnected towards what it is that I do. The reaction to that is, well, I should have spent my time more wisely, or try and get it, or try and get the notion of the time back, when time itself doesn't work that way, right? All time is time you can't get back. So what's the thing to do the other side of that? It is to move on, right? To keep learning, to keep going, to reframe that mistake you made and make sure that you learn from it. These are the points. So if it is that this exploratory journey of whatever it is led you to, I don't know, I think of something that's completely disconnected to behavioral responses to stress. If it led you to watch types, right? If it led you to watch types, and then somebody asks you about the likelihood of this individual to react by fleeing a stressful situation, the the information that is connected to the watches doesn't help you, right? So you can go, okay, I have information about watches. Cool. That isn't relevant here. So when the next time these stressful responses come up, and through your research, you can keep going down the right way because you now know what the wrong one is, or at least the one that doesn't serve you the most in that particular scenario. And this is one of the things that moves towards thinking with clarity through stressful scenarios, or remembering with clarity through stressful scenarios. It all depends on how you're framing the situation, right? Because yes, there is a measure, a measure of importance to be said for what your body's doing, and the actual reality or danger you might be in, right? I'm not discussing that. I'm not simply saying, okay, well, just imagine you're in a calm situation and all will be fine. That's not the case, right? But it's about reframing your position in the moment about what it is that you control and what it is that you don't. So if you ever feel directionless with your training, best antidote to that is to start with anything. Anything. and then you'll find these initial hooks. Well, oh, that's not challenging enough, or that's too challenging, or yeah, I feel that I need to know more about this. All of these questions that are coming up are then signifiers of your true connection towards the discomfort that you're feeling at that particular time. So therefore, that gives you things you can work on. Or if it is that you feel that you don't know enough about a certain topic to train it, that gives you something to work on, right? These are the exploratory capacities of the things that you need to go through. And it's one of the measures that is lost through a lack of critical thinking that comes as a result of some kind of emotional reaction, however normal or not normal or called for or uncalled for it is. The results are same. A lack of critical thinking. I had I had a fun incident. Well, I say fun. It was kind of um, confusing. I I shared a clip from an interview I did on Liam's The Warrior's Path podcast, and it was to do with masculine characters in films. And we were talking about the problem with the male understanding and portrayal of masculinity as a result of its influence from the media and this type of thing. And the full conversation was, I asked Liam, and he was saying, he said Rocky, he said Rambo, and he said Commando, all quality 80s action films. And so I was like, okay, well, most people might think that they are masculine because of, all of the fighting and the strength and the muscles and the montage and the workout and the slow motion killing and all of these kind of cliched elements that pop up. But what a lot of people forget is that from the get go, Rocky was trying to fight to prove he was worth something, to prove his self worth. Uh, you know, Commando Arnie, he was just fighting to try and get his daughter back. And the mental health concerns of Rambo have been well documented. So there's elements that people forget in the face of this facade of masculinity. And my favourite was is Leonidas in 300. And I was talking to him about how most people think it's the slow motion fighting, or the fact that he's got all of his muscles out and he growls and shouts and kills people in slow motion. But to me, it was the moment where he was standing metaphorically and literally naked with his partner, not his servant, or not the owner, his partner, worried about what it is that he wants to do. And the short clip came in at me saying about the Leonidas thing, and explaining my position on why that's a masculine character. And I was like, that's fucking masculine. Finished it with words to that effect. And the comment that was underneath was, bruh, which is enough to make me throw up anyway. Um, it was, if you do this, it will make women feel insecure. Don't follow this advice at all. And like, my feelings aren't hurt around that. You can have an opinion, of course you can. I mean, it's fundamentally wrong, but you can totally have the opinion. My confusion was, where was the advice? Why I wasn't giving advice. We were talking about masculine characters. That was it, right? That lack of critical thinking led to confusion. And it's a weird analogy, but it was just a current one that popped up. It's analogous to this because we have those same deceptive thoughts about the way that we train, right? Oh God, comments. Sorry, didn't see any of those. I was stuck here chatting. Um, Mr. J needs direction. Good, that's why we're here, my friend. Board's going to the airport tomorrow, going to use it as an opportunity to practice any hints or challenges at an airport. Well, here we go. Mr. J is coming with some, trying to deduce who travels alone or with someone else, also where they're going, for how long, details about the travel. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Another good thing when you're in airports as well is learn the shorthand for the airport codes. right? They all have the tags on the cases. Where do they come from? Where are they going to? There's another good practice for the memory drill in that situation. Um, the one I can think of as a masculine for me is Maximus from Gladiator, 100%. Right, but is he masculine because he's a great fighter, great leader, or is he a masculine character because he wades through all of that to deal with the trauma of losing his family? Right, is it more about balance than just one-sided shows of strength? That was the point. But to come back to the original kind of topic for the point of training, the the deceptive thoughts that we have in that scenario, right? Are we in the same sense of, you know, this aesthetic nature of masculinity? Are we applying an aesthetic nature of forethought to the training that we're doing? Right? I'm just going to go out and remember some things. Okay, well, that's good on the surface, but are you going to train a specific memory method? Are you going to do anything to increase the cognitive load that you experience to tax your competence of the memory method? Is it going to be around amount of people, so you're using numbers? Is it going to be about spatial recollection of people towards things, towards gates that they might be going to in the right? These are the kinds of details that you want to think about, the other side of what it is, and you can only get to experiencing that through exploration. Right, there isn't a guidebook for this. So when people say, you know, I'm the number one behavior guy, it's bullshit. It doesn't mean anything. Right, because there is no number one for this. Popular, sure, but there's no number one. Right, and these are deceptive thoughts. That's when the ego slips in, and we can do the same thing here. So you might sit down and go, well, I'm going to read this book, but you know, the author got a bad rap. I haven't read any of his work, but he got a bad rap before. Well, how do you know what the content is? Right? These are the thoughts. You can lean into the Baader-Meinhof effect in terms of your recognition of specific things can let you inform your awareness of them as you move forward because you've recognized it. But you need to stop to recognize it in order to be armed with that kind of information. You know, it's a weird dichotomy in that situation. Like when I first started learning languages, I initially started just because I wanted to understand more people. I didn't really care about how I sounded. I still don't. I didn't really care about writing the languages or reading them. I just wanted to be able to listen and understand. That was it, right? But then the more I explored, the more I learned about kind of you know, like congates and false friends and uvular fricatives and the amount of words that have hard consonants in certain languages that create certain aesthetics and appearance. You know, it just keeps tumbling, right? It just keeps tumbling, and this is one of the things that I want you to nurture in your training, right? If it is that you're about to learn anything, don't put a lid on it. See where it takes you. That's part of the fun. Because then there is a little part, if you are putting a lid on it, there is a little part of you that's only reading the book to get to the end, if that makes sense. You know, you might be reading the book to get to the next one, or to go and practice this, or to, you know, to read somebody else's point of view that completely disagrees with what you've just said, so you can have a more comprehensive understanding. And it keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps going. The point is that if you are free to explore your research, you're always going to be in a mindset that is looking for meaning. And if we take from, you know, Viktor Frankl, or really how the mind works in terms of memorizing and taking information away, that meaning, that connection, if we find through discovery, Like, it's huge. It's like an affinity. It's like an immediate relational development. You know, when people talk about finding the one, you know, when you know, these kinds of instant connections. And this may feel like a kind of a stoner just rambling on about certain things that are vaguely philosophical and mostly disconnected and disjointed. If that's what you're taking away from this, then I apologize. I'm doing you a disservice. But what I'm trying to communicate as best I can is this feeling of exploration. Right? Normally, when I sit down and do these, I have a couple of points in my notes that I want to make, and I'll make them. Right? It's maybe like 4 or 5 points that will last the 30 to 40 minute episode. There was just the idea. I wanted to find the end with you. That's it. Right? So anything that you're hearing different or seeing different in my movements or anything else. Granted, there will be a little bit of a reaction to the light because I don't have my glasses on, so now I'm just looking at a colourful blur on on the screen. Right, but I wanted this to come through. This podcast is geared towards those who are interested in observing human behavior and the interactions therein in order to understand the world around them in a way that no one else in the vicinity is able to, or at least takes the time to be able to. So, to try and bring that to you in as authentic a way as possible, I'm just exploring this with you. Right? Oh, here we go. Mr. Jane, I've never been able to start without a plan and let the journey take me away. For example, I should have started learning watch brands and their prices last year. Didn't. Right? So we can look at that as one of two things. And this will require personal reflection on your part. But we've all done it in some way. We've all done it. And the reality of it is that you placed something else at a higher priority. What that was, or the reason for doing it, don't know. Right? That would be entirely up to you. But it's the classic excuse of the child. Oh, I forgot. Well, no, you didn't. You just placed something else at the time in a higher priority. That's the truth. It might be an unnecessary, pedantic version of the truth, but that is the truth. And in this particular circumstance, if you know you wanted to learn that but didn't, and it was last year, you put something else ahead of it, right? So that's what you figure out in that particular scenario. It might be something as simple as not really knowing where to start. So you place the confusion around where to start there. That's what's at higher priority. The best antidote to that, just look, right? If it is that you want watch brands and their prices, Google watch brands and their prices, or ask an AI for the list of the top 10 most expensive watch brands in your region and to provide some supporting links so you can at least go and you go to source as opposed to the AI services because they're just glorified Google searches anyway. It's algorithmic learning for now. For now, it's probably going to go somewhere crazier in the future. But this is it, mate. This is it. It is why I keep coming back to that particular Benedict Cumberbatch video. Not because it's Benedict Cumberbatch or because he was Sherlock, but if you listen, just listen to what he's waffling on about. And it's that whole stop grinding, grinding, grinding away at yourself. Stop and just do. That's it. That's it. Yeah, confusion. If you get rid of that, what you need for confusion is an interrupter. Well, rather a better interrupter, right? If it is that you don't know where to start and you're sat facing a screen or whatever it is, get up and walk around. You're in a thought pattern there. You change your body, you change your mind. Simple. It might not be by much, but you do because of the intrinsic link between the two, right? Even if you're thinking about the same things, you're thinking about them from a different state, right? And this is how I came onto the whole thermodynamic properties of the understanding of human behavior is through exploring the restrictions as far as I was able to with body language. It's how I came into using memory as a weapon for lie detection. Just exploring and using and seeing if this will fit over here and seeing if this will fit over here, right? If it doesn't, it doesn't. But that's only done through exploration, right? It's the person that put this together, right? You can mix this up as much as you want. And the first person to do it, whether that was Ernst Rubik or not, I don't know. I don't know the facts on that. I know that he made it, but I don't know if he was the first person to solve it. I don't know if he built it around an algorithm to solve, or built the puzzle and then found an algorithm to solve. But if you look at the things like this, whenever they're mixed up, it starts with a person going, well, I wonder what happens if I put this over here, and then, well, if I put this over here, that ruins these over here. So I need to find a way of putting this color over here, and either it not affecting these or putting these back. And right, and you start to find these questions that arise as a result, like, okay, if furrowed eyebrows generally indicates some kind of anger or discomfort, right? Or when are the moments when it doesn't? What makes eyebrows come down and together? Well, the muscles. Okay, what neurological impetus is there for that to happen? Okay, well, I can look at that. There are sociological motivations for doing certain things. Okay, well, I can look at that. What other cultural implications are there for doing that? Are there particular expressions around the world where this is just an expression? Well, I can look at that. Is there any symbology that's historically influenced by a furrowed eyebrow? So I think because I've seen all of these eyebrows in relation to angry scenes in film and TV, that therefore when I see it in real life, it must be something to do with it, because it's the Ouroboros, the snake eating itself of influence when it comes to human behavior. In the I can look at that. This is just spitballing certain topics here in this particular circumstance. Uh, uh, Mr. Jane, makes sense. Thanks. Going to start with 10 brands today. Let's see where it goes. Awesome. And that's all it is. Because, like, on the flip side of it, that's when your learning becomes fun, right? Not that it isn't already, and not that you can't have that in any other kind of learning, right? The first time I sat down to watch Lupin on Netflix in French, I didn't have the foggiest what was going idea. I mean, you can kind of infer from, the action scenes and the characters that were interacting in good or bad ways, sure. But in terms of the specificity, no idea. So then I was like, okay, so how can I make sure my French awareness is getting better? Well, I could put the subtitles on for sure, but I'm just reading. That's the different version of the Google effect. I'm not learning anything. So I put the French subtitles on with it, so I could literally see that, right. And so it is the exploration of finding these things that work for you, right? 10 brands for Mr. Jane today might be too much. It might be nowhere near enough. He might need 100. The only way he's going to find out is by doing it. That's it. It's the biggest part of that connection right there. Explore with your training. When I sat down to start doing some geo profiling work, no idea I was going to be learning about solar energy. Not a lot, there was a like 20 to 30 pages of a few books that I went through. That was it. But even so, I can file that away because it was useful. I mean, it was dorky and cool as well, which appeals to me because I'm fond of that kind of thing. But it was useful towards my goal of being able to look at an image and figure out where it is on the planet based on the position of the sun. Right? When I first started playing GeoGuessr, right, there are ways that you can interact with that makes it more difficult for yourself than what the game will lay down for you. Boom. Right. One of the foundational parts of playing chess that I understand, and please don't get me wrong, my chess is terrible. It is terrible. But you know how I'm improving? Playing, exploring, playing different people, playing different versions, playing different iterations, different looking chessboards from different sides. I sometimes, whether I'm white or black, but I'm sitting on the opposite sides. If white and black are here and here, I'm sitting on this side playing just to see if it does anything or affects how I think. It might do nothing. I don't want to fall into a pattern of thinking around anything. That's how um, chess boxing was created. Look it up. It actually exists. It's not something they created for elementary. Hey, Denny made it. Well, we're actually closing down. No, I'm kidding. Right, but this is the notion of exploration, because if you are researching and practicing and learning, by default you don't know enough in whatever it is. You read the book because you want to know what this person has to say, or what this research point was, or what this story was, if you're reading fiction or anything like that. It is the analogy that influences the interviewer and interrogator here. Right, when you're sitting down to talk to the other person, they know more than you. Right, not in every circumstance. That's tactics. That's a different thing. But 9 times out of 10, when you're looking to have a conversation with someone about what happened, they know more than you. Right, that's the trade-off. Thanks for sharing this. I'll put that one on the screen, so that's committed. you know, that's why we learn anything. And even now, going at this stuff as long as what I have, I've got like this much knowledge on this. The world is a very big place. The world is a very big place. And if anyone is claiming mastery over this particular discipline, it's back to the old faithful sentence: they are delusional, dishonest, or both. That's it. So the main takeaway that I want you to get from this is nurture the explorer. Yeah, leave Dora to it. She's got her own thing going on. Nurture the explorer that lives within you. Right? It is the explorer that made you think, after reading Sherlock Holmes, I wonder if this is possible. That's the question that starts it. I wonder. Even if you get to the point of going, that's a resounding no. Well, then you know, right? The explorer still figured that out, right? You certainly can, didn't you? You certainly can. The super secret on the replay. Boom. Thank you, Mr. Jane. It is impossible for a man to learn what he already knows. Thank you for the correction. What he thinks he already knows. It's arguably one of the foundations for the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Keep learning. And if you learn something that doesn't serve you, file it away in the memory palace, let it fade over time, or just throw the information away. Nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Um, with that in mind, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you very soon, within the next couple of moments. My TEDx talk is coming up very soon, May 15th. So next week, it's going down, and then I have a Sherlock Holmes day on the Saturday, which is a celebratory auction. You can get tickets to join us online. It's very cheap, and the all funds go towards the charity that is now based in Undershore. Which, if you don't know what Undershore is, that's Arthur Conan Doyle's home. That's a glorious place, and I'm going to go and hang out there, and we're going to be surrounded by all things Sherlock all day, including Mr. Stephen Fry, which I am particularly excited about, um, which because it's Stephen Fry, and I think he's a wonderful human. Mr. Jane, what have I told you about that word? Don't tell me you're excited. um, but there we go. Right, there we go. That's all I really wanted to talk to you about this evening. And so, with that in mind, I am now going to love you and leave you, and I'll see you in 2 weeks for another one. The link for the Sherlock Holmes Day will be in the description when this goes out. Please check it out. Right, they're running some auctions for some props and scripts and some things from BBC Sherlock, and some stuff that Stephen Fry's bought as well. I think it's only like £5 or $5 for a ticket for the streaming event. Even if you can't make it, consider chipping in the $5 for the good charity anyway. But yeah, with that in mind, I'll see you soon.